If common sense makes more sense and is cooler than raw, common sense wins. Welcome to the Twisted Pint Tavern. Today we're visiting r/D&D to check out the answers to what are your best house rules. We've checked out the worst, now it's time to check out the other side and see the best ones, so get out your notepads. Everyone rolls a d20 with no modifier at the start of the session. Lowest roll recaps the previous session and gets a 1d6 inspiration for use during this session only. Then these replies, love this, encourages good listening, and I just do last to arrive does the recap. Well, if you have someone doing the recap either way, then I think you're still winning because most people don't even bother to pay attention for that kind of thing. But doing it this way definitely gives you a reward for good listening, so I like that. Better weapon attack crits. Max damage plus an additional roll, so a dagger crit would be 1d4 plus 4. A great sword would be 2d6 plus 12. I think this is called crunchy crits or something like that. However, spell attacks and additional things such as sneak attack or divine smites are still just doubled as normal. We wanted more critical hits, but found that having the same rule for spells and sneak attacks, etc. was too much. Sneak attack crits get excessive already coming from someone who's playing an assassin, so I get that. But yeah, I like this rule. I've been interested in trying it, but I just heard that it can get too crazy too quickly, so I don't know, I'm on the fence. If common sense makes more sense and is cooler than raw, common sense wins. Yeah, absolutely. That's, I think, the way that pretty much every game should be played. Rules as written are great for most situations, but if common sense is better, then use the common sense. I don't want my players spending all of their ASIs on, well, ASIs, but I also want there to be some sense of growth. I want my players to feel heroic and for it to be reasonably easy to max out their important stats, and for there to be space for a feat or two. I also don't like swingy character stats, so I'm not a fan of dice roll systems. I've been in parties with a wide disparity before, and it can often ruin the fun. Not to mention it makes a DM's life harder. So I use point buy with an enhanced number of points and higher max, tuned bit by bit over several years. I've settled on 33 points, 16 is the new maximum, with 16 costing 11 points. It gives enough of a boost to make characters a little more epic and gives freedom for people to have a feat or two, but still leaves room for growth. See, I've gone back and forth on my stat generation techniques over the years. I've done arrays like standard array and arrays that I've come up with, I've done rolling, and the thing is, no matter how much balance you want to put in by having an array, or point buy or something like that, people want to roll the dice. I mean, it's a dice rolling game. So what I've settled on right now is I let people roll their stats, and then I make the highest number an 18 if it's not already an 18, and then I make the lowest number a 9. That way you always have something you're really good at, and you always have something you're not so good at and have a penalty in. So far my players are loving this because it allows them to have their character strength, but also something where they might need to ask for help from time to time. You can cast a spell without spell slots for 1 level less of exhaustion. So casting a spell with what would be a 3rd level spell slot for 2 levels of exhaustion. The spell has to be at least 2nd level, and casting a 7th level spell in this way instantly results in death to the PC. I've done something similar, so in my games, if you're out of spell slots, then you can still cast spells, but you gain exhaustion levels equal to the spell level that you cast. So a 1st level spell like Magic Missile would just be 1 level of exhaustion. In the right combat scenario, it's a no-brainer, you absolutely want to do it. But then you get higher up there and it's like, okay, a party member just died and I really want to cast Revivify, but I'm out of spell slots. Is it worth the 3 levels of exhaustion? Well, that might be, but then you need to do it again, because another person dies. At that point, you're trading your life for theirs, because that would put you at 6. Something I call Destiny Dice. I basically let one player voluntarily do the last session's summary, and I give that player 3 Destiny Dice for doing it, to be used only in that session. Destiny Dice are D20s which I offer from my own dice tray, that way they get to choose which dice they take from me, the DM, a thing they love. And they can use them in any d20 roll, ability check, skill check, attack, or saving throw to gain advantage. When used, they give me back my dice. It's kind of an exchange that gives importance to certain rolls and moments. It's also good to note that I do let them use all of them or any number of Destiny dice available to gain, let's call it, double or triple advantage. 3 or 4 d20 rolls, picking the highest, for a given roll. I'm just blown away that your players use your dice. I thought it was like a globally accepted thing that the DM's dice are cursed. Every time my players are like, oh, can I grab a couple more d6s for this roll, and I offer them some from my DM stash, they will vehemently refuse. They do not touch the DM's dice. I have only a couple house rules. I ban the Shield and Counterspell spells. Those are some big bans. Crits equal roll damage once plus max on 1 die. Okay, crunchy crits, we've talked about that. We don't play with encumbrance or track ammo except for magical ammo. You'd be surprised how making mages more squishy by denying the shield spell makes them more balanced. Plus, all the hacks to get shield now don't happen. The casters play way more cautious because they only have a 14 or so AC, so control becomes really important to avoid things walking up and smacking them. Casters become glass cannons instead of an AC 22 plus 5 shield tank that nothing can hit. I do agree that shield can sometimes feel a little excessive, but you gotta remember they're still using resources for it and it only lasts the 1 round. A caster can only shield so many times. Now, I'm not saying that your house rule is bad. I'm saying in my games, I don't think I could do that because one of my characters literally built a melee sorcerer around spells like shield and booming blade, so that would just completely break their kit. And 2, if a caster wants to take the shield spell so that they're a little bit less squishy, I mean, that's a known spell for them that takes up a known spell slot and it uses a spell slot every time they cast it. To me, it's worth the trade-off. Though I wouldn't be entirely opposed to making it a +3 to AC instead of a +5, but we'll talk about that later. I have a really good one, I picked it up here on Reddit. When someone is reduced to 0 HP, the DM makes the death saving throws for him. I love this rule, without him or the party members knowing what happened. I found this creates a very real tension in the battle because no one knows if their friend is actually dying or just unconscious when he falls down. No one can say, oh, you have 2 successful saves, so I'll keep attacking instead of saving you. I love this rule and I do it at my table, but I modified it a little bit. So I have the player come and roll their death save behind my DM screen. Because I feel like it's their character, they deserve to know if it's a success or not. However, I tell them to put on their best poker face because only they and I get to know. So it definitely creates that sense of urgency of we don't know if they're doing okay or if they're about to die or maybe already dead, but the player at least gets to know what's happening to their character. On a nat 20 and nat 1, roll again. If you get a 10 or higher on a 20, something special happens. When you roll a 1 and then below 10, something extra bad happens. Like you don't just miss, but the blade also slips out of your hand, or you need to make a saving throw or fall prone. This resulted in my half-orc PC just one-hitting a mini-boss-like creature with a nat 20, another nat 20, and a 14. He basically just split it in half with an over-the-top attack. I give him a +1 on attacks from above as a passive ability, so he can now declare an attack as from over his head to deal additional damage. So that's a lot trickling down from the 1 rule. I like it. I like when people make these little special abilities and such. I think that's awesome. To go to the core though, at that point, I think you just get a critical success and a critical fumble chart because that's basically what you're doing. I think it was Pathfinder or 3.5, one of those where they had that you roll a 20, you roll again to confirm it, and then you roll for instant kill. So I think that that's a similar thing. I liked that rule in that system. It got a little crazy with the instant kills, but it was fun. I've experimented with a few things, like the secret death saves and whatnot, but I think the house rule that the table has utilized the most is coin Dimspiration. We call the normal inspiration Dimspiration to make it clear when someone's using that and not bardic inspiration. Normal DM inspiration doesn't get used as much as it should, as some DMs just forget to award it or don't feel like giving it back for good roleplay, as it can feel like picking favorites sometimes. So instead, at the start of each session, I give every player a gold coin. I just use some metal coins I found on Amazon. There's a bunch of cool designs and it builds the immersion to have that coin in front of you. The coin starts heads up and they can flip it at any point to gain advantage on a roll, just like normal inspiration. Then if at any point they roll a nat 1 while their coin is tails up, they get to flip it back over and can use it again. I got this idea initially from an XP to level 3 video and modified it just slightly. I definitely have more house rules that are directly related to gameplay and mechanics, but honestly, this house rule is so popular at my table that the players will actually call me out if I forget to hand the coins out when we start to play. Another simple but fun one, if you are helping someone with a check to give them advantage, they have to roll that second d20 with one of your dice. No particular reason, but my players act like goblins trading shiny rocks when this happens. Now, do you want to share your best house rules or the stories that flourish because of them? Join us in the Twisted Pint Tavern Discord server. We are a growing community with active members ready to discuss everything D&D. The link is in the description. And now, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you've not done so already, and don't forget to join the Twisted Pint Tavern Discord server. Leave your best house rules either there or in the comments of this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh, and do you want to know my true favorite house rule? That every single tavern keep is secretly a level 20 retired adventurer. Good luck.